So look, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Nina Sochon, who's the Teleworking Manager from the Department of Broadband, Communications and Digital Economy, who's able to join us today and give us an understanding of the employer's perspective in this area of smart work centres and teleworking.
Thank you. It is exciting to be here today. I was just thinking as you were speaking, I've got family scattered around this region and have been talking about the possibilities of telework and remote work in the Canberra region particularly as an exciting, I suppose, a possibility and an opportunity for the last year and a half or 2 years that I've been working on telework policy. So it's really, it is great to be here as well as to see the digital hubs, my first real life contact with the digital hub funded by the department. So I'm glad to be seeing what it looks like. We have only got 10 minutes and that's partly because I need to rush away, so I'm sorry that I'll be leaving and I'll be taking questions straight after my talk. But I first wanted to just see if there was any one burning question in the audience that I could address, because there's so much to say and to talk about. And happy to leave my contact cards here. I'm going to leave a bunch of them on the lectern so you can follow up with me. It's a quite short time. I'm happy to keep the conversations going. But is there any one kind of burning question that you would like me to address today? Mel?
I think my question would be, how much of a move can you see amongst employers to shift towards this whole potential cost savings involved in moving from desktop kind of based employees to managing it through, say, up in the cloud, all the data and so on, which I think is the key thing in terms of making this really possible for large numbers of people. And can you see that shift happening in the time since I've spoken to you, about 12 months? Just wondering how that's moving along and how you see that contributing to the whole uptake of this.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, I think there's probably three things to say. So how about I address those by going first to what the APS is about and what we see happening in trends. So National Telework Week was run last year, and against a backdrop of 6% of people working from home with a formal arrangement with their employer to work from home, there's a larger number of people who do mobile and remote work of other types, and that number is kind of up to about 20%. So that's ad hoc, taking work home, extending the work, maybe when the child's sick, doing some work. Otherwise it's about 6%. And that number is an old stat, but we've seen new data sets that are fairly consistent with that. Then National Telework Week happened last year and has seemed to successfully raise the level of awareness amongst the general population of employers around working from home. So we had a really incredible response in publicity, just take up from all kinds of media outlets and our partners doing local promotion that was far beyond anything that we expected. And surprised the Minister's Office too, which is a nice bonus for us. So we know since then there's been an ongoing kind of continuing stream of media in the Financial Review, in Sydney Morning Herald, and a number of journalists who just continue to pick it up. So I think that we're seeing it's gone from being a sideline concept to being more of a mainstream discussion. That's definitely happened. And then the APS, so the federal government as an employer, has also made steps that were announced in November last year to implement telework and to adopt the national goal, which is to double the number of people working from home from 6% to 12% by 2020, to adopt that goal for public service. So that means now that that there are 7 agencies who are trialling telework. They're a broad range of agencies, sizes and service delivery. And they're using NBN equivalent or NBN fibre to use that experience to provide learnings to other agencies. The trials will be finished and the report will be done by the middle of next year, and then learnings will be progressed to other agencies. And then, yeah, so obviously after that there's still 6 years to achieve the goal of 12% in the public service, but it's got the mood amongst public service employers that we speak with has gone from there's too many barriers and this is what they are, to we know we need to do this because we've got the Prime Minister's committed us to it, and that's what we're going to be doing. Yeah.
It's Ross James from the ACT government. Can you give us some examples of federal government agencies that are using teleworking?
That are using teleworking?
Yeah.
I can. So there's those 7 agencies, and then there's the premier example, if you like, of a teleworking public service agency, which is IP Australia. Their story is up on our website, telework.gov.au, and essentially they are just a great example of an organisation that's experiencing what we expect most organisations will continue to experience going forward, and that there is a learning skills shortage, and I think there's something to be made of that with employers in this space, that it's going to become increasingly important to be able to attract and retain staff. The amount of available employees looking for work is just increasingly shrinking as a feature of the demographic shift, and that's really going to become quite an acutely felt issue in the next few years. So yeah, so there's IP Australia is the best example.
Isn't the feature about IP Australia that it's people able to sit at home and process patents? So it's basically a mechanical exercise that can be done remotely.
Yes, and in that way they didn't need high-speed video conferencing, and that's the difference that the NBN is going to make. So it becomes just as easy as pie. It's $1 to do multi-party video conferencing. That means you can have a team experience at home that's almost the same as if you're in the office. So I think that will extend the possibility for people to work remotely, doing more collaborative, integrated teamwork from home in really a different kind of way. So the reason that the federal government is so involved is that the NBN really could be the game changer in this space, and it's one of the things that really could change with high-speed broadband, especially the speeds that are being offered from the NBN.
Now, what about the shift to away from a desktop computer? Is there any grasp of the major cost savings that could hold for employers?
Do you mean moving towards mobile work?
Yeah, mobile work.
Yeah.
And so if you're just mobile working all the time,
yeah,
then it becomes part of the culture of the place, and it doesn't matter whether you're in the building, just outside the building, down the street, at home, in a telework centre.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you are.
I think, like, just being quite frank, and this is just entirely factual, one of the only organisations talking about working from home as a benefit is the federal government. Most organisations are doing some kind of remote working solution.
Yeah.
So essentially, as far as management goes, good management is managing according to outcomes. It's knowing what someone's doing, having a good agreement with them, performance managing well. That's just good management. And once you do that, it doesn't really matter so much where the person is. You need to think about WHS risks around their working location, but where they get the work done. Essentially, once an organisation has the mindset that someone can be out of the office and they have the management principles in place to be able to do that,
yeah,
they can.
I'm more getting at the cost savings for the organisation, shifting away from all of that desktop, investment. Once you move to using your tablet, it's a huge saving, and that's where I think the real possible drive for this comes from.
I think that the federal government experience is that to enable someone to be able to be mobile, you give them a laptop and a docking station. And an enterprise grade laptop is about $3,000,
Right,
whereas
so
an
you're saying the
enterprise
cost
grade
is the same.
is less than $1,000. So
there's some of the argument that I've heard is that because people are starting to use their own personal tablets, you can use that as the basis, and it's actually a complete cost saving for the organisation. So if they're just storing everything in the cloud, that's where their data is. They're not using any really other than their own, possibly their own mobile or their tablet.
It's probably worth picking up. I think there's an exciting, that's the federal government's kind of constraint, but there's an exciting growth amongst small business in using the cloud. When small businesses, once, it's really up to them, whatever what tool do they like to use, what's going to best meet their needs. And because cloud services are increasingly available, and we know of some products that small businesses just flock into in the cloud. And in one product, they said that there was 40% of their customers are new small businesses, and they've taken up 50,000 customers in the last year. Small businesses that never had any software in the cloud, never had anything internet enabled, and we're using bookkeepers to do what they can now do in the cloud. So I think that there is things are changing. It's very difficult to give you a kind of rock solid overall gold standard view on it, but things are changing. How are we going for time, Peter?
How are we going for time? We've probably close to the end of your session, and we might get Mick up unless there's a key telling point.
Is there another question that I could answer? Do feel free to contact me. Got my cards here.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.